Ready? Okay, I guess let's walk here. Let's get like a view of Harper. Think this looks natural?
Yeah, just walking and talking, bro.
Just walking and talking.
So Jacques, what's your deepest, darkest desire?
To be loved.
Okay. That's pretty cool, bro.
I can't write a requiem for Robert Byrd, as I do not know Robert Byrd.
So this was his building. That's his office, I think. Pretty sure. Second one down. He had a corner office.
Winter 2018. My first personal interaction with him came after he caught me browsing Reddit during his seminar. Eager to prove I was attentive to his lectures, I worked diligently on my midterm, an analysis on Henry David Thoreau's 1854 book Walden. When Robert handed it back, I found I'd misspelled Thoreau. I'm a deeply uncomfortable person. I'm cowardly, self-loathing. I hate onions. And I'm scared of death. So yeah, this is it's an uncomfortable project. But it's not really about me. At the same time, it's all about me. December 2019. Following months of experiencing a mysterious pain in his arm, Robert Byrd is diagnosed with advanced colon cancer. Sometime after, Robert writes an essay. In it, he details the legendary Russian film director Andrei Tarkovsky's own struggle with the disease. Legend has it Tarkovsky predicted his own death in his final film, 1986's The Sacrifice. The mythos surrounding Tarkovsky was comparable to some religious icon for obsessive film nerds, and Robert was his prophet. The final section of the 5,000-word essay detailed Robert's own experience with cancer in relation to Tarkovsky. He writes that Tarkovsky's funeral was an omen of the end of an epoch in the history of the cinema, of Soviet culture, of culture. In Robert's case, it's just a mundane, private cancer, an anonymizing force, an omen of nothing. September 7th, 2020. Robert Byrd passes away in his home next to his wife, Christina. He is 50 years old. Role models can be inconvenient. I'm young. I'm naive. I'm not looking for a rabbi or anything, but I need guidance. For the road through life is treacherous and paved by the things others leave behind. I've been spending a lot of time in cemeteries lately, acquainting myself with the desperate to stay relevant. There's nothing apparently morbid about this place. Rocks over ill-kept lawn, quiet tranquility. The remains of a life lived are kept deep, deep under the earth, shrouded by overgrowth, contained within a box nailed shut. These are people's last Hail Marys for immortality, a middle finger to impermanence. People read your name, and you become part of their story. The larger, the grander the monument, the better your chances. Robert wasn't buried. I Existential dread makes me anxious. Anxiety makes me hungry. I feel like a pilgrim about to embark on a journey up the mountain to visit some mythical sage. If nothing else, at least I'll find a good vantage point. Word soon got out that I had borrowed a nice camera for the project, and a friend of mine asked if I could take a picture for her LinkedIn profile.
Ready? You ready, G?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
With graduation looming, our prospects seemed boundless, our ambitions ravenous, our potential limitless. The irony was not lost on me.
I was anxious about being around it, being around the illness. Didn't know if I could handle it, to be honest. My experience of mortality is even when you know it's coming, it's still kind of a shock. Even when a loved one you have has been sick for a very long time, it's always hard. And I'm sure you realize this too at this moment, that grieving during COVID is so fucked up and
It
complicated.
really is. Yeah.
I mean, I get very angry about it because it's just like, I remember at the kind of close to New Year, everybody was like, you know, goodbye 2020, fuck you, I don't want to remember 2020. And I was like, no, the pandemic doesn't get to claim my memory of Robert. I'm not forgetting that. So it really bothered me. And I know what everybody means. Nevertheless, it still had a sharp edge to it for me. And it made me angry. Because, don't want to forget the people we lost.
None of us thought cancer would ever stop Robert, because none of us knew anyone who was as engaged with the world physically and mentally as this guy was. He had absolutely no, look at what he would do. He would put together events and then step back. He would put together shows and he'd step back. He would put together even classes and then his goals step back. The Tarkovsky article, you're talking, put it there, step back, get out of the way. He was very self-effacing, self-deprecating, in a very sincere way, not as a performative gesture. But then there's another issue there. There's the issue of why was he that way? And I think he was that way, not simply because he was modest. I think he felt that that was a better way to understand the world.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see if I can. Yeah. Oh, there it is. This is based on it looks backwards now on the screen, but there it is.
Robert's friends did not waste time ruminating on what I saw to be the horrible implications of his essay. In order to better understand what he meant, I needed to get closer still.
2 years ago, he built that vegetable bed, and that has been filled with tomatoes and all kinds of things. And then last year, he built this bed. Maybe it's the other way around. And so we were growing vegetables here. This bed was my responsibility. Somehow it became my stuff, kale and lettuce. And that was him with all his tomatoes. He had a tomato plant called Cosmonaut. I can't remember. Some Russian cosmonaut. I don't know why it was named that, but they made these really great tomatoes.
Christina's Robert's wife. A scholar of socialist art in her own right, the two often collaborated outside the home. Within these walls, however, they were each other's closest companion.
All of it is very meaningful to me. I have to be able to let go, obviously, if some of these things die. But yeah, look, the buds here on the apple trees. So,
I was fascinated by how domestic was the life of my sage. I wondered if the hermit Elijah hung his artisanal pans on the cave wall, if Aristotle kept his pile of tote bags in the kitchen next to his record collection. Christina's reality was real death, real loss. Mine seemed like a different reality entirely. It became clear to me that, no matter how much I tried to close the distance between Robert and I, that I would never be able to bridge that final gap.
we knew almost from the start that there was no talk of a cure, there was just a talk of time. You know, that he could win time through the chemotherapy, and we had thought he could win, you know, a certain amount of time, that then he turned out not to, because it only worked for a few months and then stopped working. And once it stopped working, he just really started feeling very bad. So, I mean, he was obviously stoic and really, really impressive.
I asked Christina what were her thoughts on her husband's essay.
It's a moment maybe of Robert's, you know, his feelings of somehow not having achieved what he thought he should have achieved, of perhaps not having fully fulfilled, you know, having fulfilled his destiny or his abilities, not having made the impression that he would have wished. And I do think of it as, I've thought about that sentence a lot. I think I see it as maybe a tiny, tiny bit of, you know, a moment of sadness, of thinking, but my death is just meaningless, right? It doesn't mean anything for anyone other than, you know, the people who are closest to me. Each of us has this experience, and for some few of us, it becomes world historical, the death. But in fact, most of us will just die, and it just won't mean anything. It's just cancer. The dominant thing is wanting to try to make sense of this calamity that has befallen him, and how do you come to terms with that? How do any of us? Because most of us aren't an Andrei Tarkovsky. And so we have to, at the end of our lives, kind of figure out what they've meant.
Born September 16, 1969, in Slough, England, Robert Byrd was regarded as a child prodigy. He earned 2 bachelor degrees with honors from the University of Washington in 1991, writing his senior thesis on contemporary Russian rock music. He completed his PhD in Slavic languages and literature at Yale University in 1998 with a dissertation on Vyacheslav Ivanov. After teaching for 3 years at Dickinson College, in 2001, he was hired by the Department of Slavic Languages and Literature at the University of Chicago, and would also become a member of the Department of Cinema and Media Studies. He hosted legendary barbecues, and had at his disposal an encyclopedic knowledge of cocktails. He was an athlete. He played rugby, soccer, tennis, squash. He was also an ardent biker. He commuted from his home to the University of Chicago on a path along the lake. Existential dread makes me anxious. Anxiety makes me hungry. In the depths of my despair, I received an email from the head of the Department of Slavic Studies. He asked if I wanted to visit Robert's office. apparently it was as he left it. It's overwhelming. It's like stepping into somebody's soul. It's not a cubicle. It's not a 9 to 5 office. This is a labyrinth of everything, just knowledge, compounded upon knowledge, and just books and books and books just piled up. Just I feel overwhelmed. I feel out of my element. I've taken classes with the man. I remember sitting. I was sitting right here when we talked about our final, and you have those instances with a lot of different people, right? When they pass and you go back into your memories, and you suddenly these insignificant places that you spent time together become really important and meaningful and valuable, and they almost have a soul embedded in them. And there's a soul here, and you can feel it. I hope I don't sound too dramatic or romantic, but there is definitely there is something. There's an aura here.
And this is arugula that I planted. And I'm trying to think, and what have I planted there? I have it written down. I've planted beets and spinach. I was just thinking this morning, I was lying in bed, and it's hard to remember that there was a time when we were together and we were so close. I mean, just the lonely, kind of alone, I should say, single life. That's the reality now, of course. I mean, and that's right, it should be the reality because it is. But that's what's hard. It recedes. The memories recede as time goes by, and I know that we were out here every day and talked about it every day, and it was this source of pleasure, and it was a big responsibility. But it's harder and harder to recover that because he's gone, and now it's just me.
There are no statues for Robert, not even a plaque. Robert, being Robert, did his part and stepped back.